Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. Thanks to everybody who was on the live post show for AEW Grand Slam Mexico. It went about 45 minutes. A lot of great banter back and forth. Chat was lively. I don't know how often I will do those moving forward. Maybe if, pay-per-views and, depending how things look timing wise, if that's something you guys would want, I definitely, long form, just immediate aftermath is always a good way to go. I do like doing these isolated clips, just specifically because I think, having one central take is kind of rather than just a stream of consciousness. But one thing I did not touch on really extensively well in the live stream, because I did talk about this. To me, like, look, Grand Slam Mexico was kind of a house show, and the atmosphere was fine, the match and the wrestling were fine, but nobody really cared. Nothing really happened. There was one thing on this show that I actually really did like until the end, and that was MJF taking on Mystico, the former Sin Cara. Really lively atmosphere. Crowd was singing, going crazy for Mystico and his entrance. It was a really, really, honestly, a cool moment. One of the cooler things I've seen this year. It really helps to have a home field advantage. It really felt special. And, considering the whole history with Mystico and, how bad it went with Sin Cara in WWE, it's really nice to see him, back in his element. And he's universally considered one of the best luchadors ever. And, this was really cool. So let me just get that out of the way here. And MJF, probably one of his performances of the year, King Dick heel. This was him at US, the US hero, mega heel, going into Mexico, being all douchebaggy and everything. It was actually really well done. And, there was a lot of good stuff. There was this part of the story in this match where MJF was getting distracted, just being all taunty and everything. And MVP was actually really good in this match and basically say, Max, get on him. What the fuck are you doing? And it led me to think that there was going to be something that was going to happen between the Hurt Syndicate and MJF leading into this match. And then the finish happened, and the finish was a bunch of dog shit. Because what happened was you had MJF, after multiple opportunities to try and win this match, just goes low for a low blow DQ finish, a very rare thing that you see in AEW. But given the context of what this match was and what followed, it didn't really make any sense. MJF took off the mask of Mystico, and then put it on himself and walked away with the mask. And so then Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight attacked the Hurt Syndicate. Seemingly that's setting the stage, since we're only like a little bit over 3 weeks away from the actual pay-per-view happening in Texas on July 12th. You're looking at this situation and you're just like, okay, what is MJF going to do? And, based off of what they told you, and I saw some people in chats and on social media saying, yeah, they're just going to run it back and they're going to do Mystico and MJF again. Maybe they'll do like a mask versus hair match. And, okay, that's fine. But okay, here's my problem. And again, not trying to disrespect Mystico, not trying to disrespect any of his legacy. It's one thing to do that match at Arena Mexico on CMLL's turf. But if you mean to tell me that you're going to run this thing back in Texas, it does make some level of sense. Mexico, Texas, the proximity is not that far. So fine, whatever. But if you mean to tell me that Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who walked into the first edition of this event, the largest event, largest attendance, they trumpeted out until they're blue in the face back in 2023. He main evented, actually had 2 matches on that show. MJF did. But he main evented for the World Heavyweight Championship against Adam Cole. By the way, Adam Cole he'll probably have a TNT title match, but he hasn't felt as significant as he was in that spot. But MJF and Adam Cole main evented that first All In in 2023. MJF was in a spectacular feud with Will Ospreay last year. So you mean to tell me that MJF, one of the cornerstones and one of the best storytellers in the business, can't even get on the show for a meaningful match against an AEW talented contracted wrestler. You're going to bring in a CMLL guy, granted a good one in Mystico, but you mean to tell me that's the best that you have for MJF? I was on this months ago when they went on this Hurt Syndicate thing. I was like, where is this all leading to? What is he going to do at the biggest show of the year? And seemingly, I think we have gotten our answer because, listen, he's not going to be in a tag team match because, hey, it looks like Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey are going to be in a tag team title match against the Hurt Syndicate. And, the Hurt Syndicate, for, all the people shit on them, they're over. And they're entertaining. I mean, the wrestling isn't as great, and they're also in their late 40s, early 50s, but still they're over. But they're still being paraded around as heels. So how does that make any sense? And then you're doing this kind of bordering racist kind of thing with MJF stealing the mask and everything. And so I know people are going to go immediately to the El Grande Americano and him disrespecting Lucha Libre. Listen. El Grande Americano hasn't unmasked luchadors yet. And as far as I've known, for anybody who's watched Lucha Libre in pro wrestling for, ever, knows that that's about the most disrespectful thing that you can do to a luchador. Listen, El Grande Americano is entertaining, but the whole Gulf of America thing is a little ridiculous. And it's like, okay. So listen, a lot of this is not really in good taste, but if they really are going to tell me that MJF is going to face Mystico again in a rematch of a match that we just saw because they ran a DQ finish. Unless there's something else on the table, I don't see another path for him to get to Globe Life. I don't. And that, I talked about this earlier. And I'll pose this to you guys, and you guys can answer this in the chat. What is more embarrassing? That the guy who main evented the first All In 2 years ago does not have a clear path to All In against, and the best thing they have for him is potentially against a rematch against a guy who he just faced at Arena Mexico, or is it somebody who they paraded around in all of the publicity for stuff, a women's talented wrestler, one of the best ones that they have, and she doesn't have a clear path, even though she's the Ring of Honor champion, and clearly she was doing a lot of media with Mercedes Moné. Is it Athena or is it MJF who's gotten screwed over more in the build to this All In? Because both these two should have an easy, clear path to this show for different reasons. But MJF not being in a clear situation, and he's really played errand boy, and he's getting initiated into the Hurt Syndicate, is where is this all going? And when you've got 3 weeks to go, and then you have that great match and it leads to nothing. It just leads to him unmasking it. It's and you still don't have an answer of where this thing is going. What the hell is going on with MJF? This is the best character that they have. The best storyteller that they have. Was the guy 2 years ago leading the charge. He was the main event. He was the world champion of their biggest show ever. Now we're heading into their biggest show in North America in this event. 2 years later, this time it's on American soil, and he's got no path whatsoever. I don't know what the whole story is, if he even gives a shit, or if he's just cashing a check and he's just waiting to get out of there and go to WWE. I have no idea. But you have got to do better than what they're giving him. That's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. So we'll see, man. But like I said, this is not to disrespect Mystico. I understand how important he is. It's one thing to do it in Arena Mexico on an exclusive show, Grand Slam Mexico. If you mean to tell me they're going to run it back in 3 weeks with a different stipulation, that doesn't do it for me. MJF deserves way better than that. And like I said, I don't even know if this is him just going along with this and this is just shitty booking. But this is not good. You can defend it all you want, but this is crap. This is trash. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.